kombucha date.
Snack date.
Mm.
So in 2016, we adopted the cutest little 3-year-old from China. He was so outgoing, so funny. He just made our life a better place, a better, just better all around. And if you've ever met Caillou, your life is probably better for it too. He is an absolute joy. But while 2016 was an absolute joy, it was also the beginning of some of the hardest years of our life. Now, before adopting Caillou, we thought that racism, that's really crunchy.
We thought spicy.
We thought racism was a minority amount of people. Not very many people were racist. It wasn't an issue. But we soon found out after adopting our little boy from China, our handicapped little boy, that racism pervades our society much more than we were aware of.
Not just racism, but differentism.
Differentism.
People that are different.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Which he had a double whammy from being disabled and foreign.
And so I remember, like, one day the most vividly, and we were walking home from a kids' event. It was just me by myself with 4 kids, and this car pulls up beside us, and he rolls down the window, and he growls at us, this animal-like growl, and then laughs and revs his engine and drives away. And I just remember being terrified. By this point, I had already experienced a lot of racism, so this was like a catalyst. And I just ran up that hill into the quickest neighborhood I could find to get my little family safe again.
And obviously, it could have been a prank. It could have been any number of things. But what it was is there was a state of mind that we were in. We'd been to enough doctors that questioned us about him, and like
enough friends had said mean things about him, family members.
We always had to have his ID with us because random people would ask us for his ID. None of our other kids, just his. And so there was this constant just thought in the back of our minds that
we were unsafe.
Yes.
That our children, our family was no longer safe in America.
And amidst that, of the downplaying that, you know, when we would mention it to someone and it was not an issue. Oh, there's just some people that are crazy, you know.
Most people are good.
Most people are good. It's okay. And what that really makes me think of is that this concept that we read about recently, that of living in a society with our neighbors, our, you know, other people in this country. We have kind of a social contract or a society contract, and it's different from community. We're not sharing. We have a literally it's an unspoken contract with everyone around us, meaning that you can go to the store without fear of being robbed. You can walk down the street without having to carry a gun. You can drive your car without having to worry about someone just ramming you for no reason. There's a contract. Some of it's laws, but a lot of it is just, I respect you and you respect me, and therefore we can coexist. Our stores don't have to have bars on their windows, and you don't have to have cashiers behind cages. Some countries they do, because their social contract looks a little different, and robberies are more common.
In here, we can walk on the sidewalks. In India, the sidewalks are another lane for traffic.
Mm-hmm. That's part of the society's contract. And so part of that contract is that, like I said, we can coexist together, and it's a give and a take, right? I sacrifice some of my freedom or some part of my life so that we can coexist together.
So the contract I had is that I can go to the playground, and this is the contract, that social contract I had before having Caillou, was that I could go to the playground with my kids and they could play. I could have to keep my eye on them, and if there's something happened, I would step in, or the mom would step in, and together we would solve the problem. But my kids were safe because we were working together to keep the playground safe, me and the other families. Then we brought Caillou. And I would say every single playground, except for the ones that we're on by ourselves, Caillou has been bullied, called bad names, had a racist remark told to him. So much so that that societal contract is now broken. My family no longer feels safe at the playground. My kids can't go there and just think, I'm going to go have fun. They have to go there on guard. And it's so much so now, we've had to rewrite the contract. We've had to go in and say, I'm going to shadow Caillou. I'm going to follow him on the playground. I can't just let him go play by himself. Or I'm going to assign one of my kids to be his bodyguard. By bodyguard, it's just to usher him away when bad things happen. But it changed. Our family doesn't feel protected, doesn't feel welcome, doesn't feel part of it. And our concerns for all these years have just been like, oh, think of all the good people. Think of all the good moments. But that doesn't change that every single time we go to the playground, it is hard.
And that's one choice, that when a contract is broken, you can amend to that contract. You can change it. You can go in and try to seek a better contract.
Now,
the other option is to back away from that contract. Say, well, it does not exist for me anymore. I will not abide by this contract. What does that look like?
So another thing is, sometimes I find myself educator. I'm like, okay, I'm going to follow Caillou around, and every time there's a bully or someone makes fun of his handicap or someone says something bad because he's Chinese, I'm going to be there educating because the other parents aren't. And a lot of people say, oh, that's wonderful. This is such a beautiful opportunity for others to learn how to love, for others to learn about racism, about handicapped kids. But you don't realize that that is Caillou's identity. He is the person who goes to the playground for everyone else to learn those lessons from. And maybe the first couple of times it was okay, but after a while, it's tiring because there's always someone else you have to educate and teach how to love.
And so in the same way, we're starting to now see our African American brothers and sisters who have been trying to amend their contract for 50 years.
They've been trying to educate.
They've been trying to find a better way.
They've been trying to voice their concerns, and they have not been heard.
They've been silenced, or have just experienced silence. And so now, think of it as, if I can think of it, if I was an African American man and I saw a video of a person whom I had a contract with to serve and protect me, who, without even emotion, killed one of my brothers. Now, my thought is that contract is broken now. Now, that doesn't mean that we condone violence of any way, but we can understand how you can feel that now I do not respect an officer anymore, and therefore that contract of social peace does not exist anymore.
And while ours was only 4 years, the African Americans have been suffering way longer than that. Mm-hmm. And so their frustration and their at this societal brokenness is stronger.
And now I like to also think of it as we let our kids let us have a date last night, and our oldest daughter Grace babysat the younger 3 kids. Okay, and in the same way, they had a kind of an agreement that they were going to obey her, and we were just going to be out there, and
in the backyard.
They were going to leave us alone, and if they all worked out, then we can do this more often, and they can have little dates, and that's a contract, right? Now, if Caillou comes out to us and complains, "Oh, Grace isn't feeding me and I'm hungry," and we respond, "Well, go talk to your sister." Okay, that's fine. But then he comes out a second time. He says, "I'm still hungry and she won't feed me." And we say, "Well, go talk to your sister." And a third time, and a fourth time. Eventually, he won't come out again. He will find a way to either, number one, find his own food, or number two, rebel against the authority, Grace.
And us.
And get his own way, right? That's how he views his agreement with our family. Now
that didn't happen. Grace fed him.
But
she's a good big sister. But it's a good analogy.
A good analogy and example. Now, if he came out and said, "Well, I'm hungry," and we said, "Well, your brother's hungry too, so deal with it. We love you all." That doesn't really change his situation now, does it? It's no different. He's still hungry. And in a way, that's how I view the
all lives matter.
The difference between Black Lives Matter and All Lives Matter. You can't just say, "Well, why can't we just believe all lives matter?" Okay, sure, but that does not solve the problem, right? There is an injustice happening to a specific group of people that is documented, well documented. It is historically happened for hundreds of years, and you just say, "Well, we all love each other. You're not fixing the situation." So there is a power to saying that I value you and I care for you as an individual, as a person, as a community, as a race. I value you, and I want to love you more than someone else, right? By love meaning that's social justice, right? The church teaches that social justice means that there is a preferential option for the poor, for the neglected. That's what Jesus taught us. He always went to the fringes of society. He always went to the outcast. He served them. And that's what us as Christians, we should be doing.
So here's a couple ideas on how we can fix this broken contract. Number one, we have to make people feel safe again. They feel like their contract is broken. They feel like they can't trust the cops. They can't trust society. They can't trust anyone to love them and protect them. We must make people feel safe again. Number two, we need to listen. And that's how we make people, that's the first step in making people feel safe. So we need to really listen to their concerns, not minimize them, honestly listen. Then you need to teach your kids. Teach your kids what love is. Teach your kids what respect is.
And then just learn to have your eyes open. I think that's what we have learned most through our last few years, is to have your eyes open to the injustice.
On the playground, once your eyes are open, you'll see it everywhere. And you can start using your voice to show that person that was just hurt love. Have your kid go befriend the kid that just had a bad encounter on the playground.
And so in a special way, we just ask that the Lord will guide us and direct us in our struggles and in our search and our quest for the poor, to find the poor and to love them.
And I feel like we need to end in a prayer for all of our African American brothers and sisters that have fought this battle for way too long. This battle for justice, Lord. We just pray that you just rain down your justice upon this whole country, that you build us as brothers and sisters that love each other, that reach out to each other, that genuinely care and listen to each other. I pray that you heal all the divisions. Help us all to be instruments of your peace, bringing peace to this fractured country.
In the name of Jesus, we pray.
Amen. We love you guys.